Good morning everyone, welcome to Classic Wheels. So today I'm going to talk about Bullet Classic 350 2016 model and talk about its modifications that I've made and 2 years of or 3 years of experience that I have with this Bullet. So starting with the modifications that I have come with this Bullet. So first is the silencer that I got changed around 1500 kilometers. So for all the new bikers, you should know you shouldn't change your silencer just right away. You should change it after your engine has walked enough miles on it. So it's approximately 1500 kilometers at least before you change your silencer, because otherwise it will harm your Bullet. Also, I got these lights. So these lights are I don't know what company they are, but they are actually enough. I have them on since like from the beginning. So these are the parking lights, the LED DRLs, and this is the you say low beam, and this is the high beam. So also I would like to tell you about its another feature. It doesn't have any kind of you know they have been working really good from the past 2 years, 2.5 years. It also has these indicator features. So only one indicator is connected right now, so and it will come back on again, and so that's a problem with this one, but otherwise it works really fine. About the silencer I have used is a good Saver Dolphin. Now this silencer it has a lot of bass, but then again I have been recently challaned for this silencer, so it's also not legal enough, and policemen usually don't have the decibel meter so to check the thumping of the sound of these silencers. So the actual limit is 125 decibels for the silencer to be under the sound of silencer should be under 125 decibels. If it is above, then it is illegal. But to convince the traffic police is like convincing some rat dogs. They won't listen to you. So it's best you don't get your silencer changed, but if you want to, then it's at your own risk, and I'm taking that risk anyway. So coming to the third modification that I have is this guard. I think everyone should get guards. It is for our own safety, because this bike is too heavy. And also you can get these ropes around it just to look a little cool, and I had these guard actually came along with the rope, so I don't have problem. I didn't have to take a separate rope for it and wrap it around it. Now let's talk about the bike. Oh, also I got a third modification, that was the side mirrors. If you're taking side mirrors, remember that they can be stolen easily, because they did get stolen from me, and I had to take my old ones out. And you should always have the mirrors on, because you need to look what's behind you. It's only risky if you don't have mirrors on a bike. Let's talk about the engine. So the engine is a 350cc mill, and it turns around 20 bhp. Power is quite enough, it's torquey enough, but it's not like the ones we see on, like, let's talk about the 200 NS. So that bike has lot more power and torque, so they run a lot faster. So I guess Bullet wasn't meant to be faster, but they are fast enough, but they obviously have vibrations when you cross 80 kilometers an hour. And I have topped up around 130 kilometers an hour on this mill, and it's quite risky on that too. Secondly, if you're getting a classic, you have an advantage of disc brake. This brake is quite powerful enough, so you should I won't recommend most of the people buying a 350cc standard, because firstly those bikes don't have discs, secondly they aren't self start. Now, for example, you're going on for a ride on hill stations, and your bike suddenly stops on an incline or a decline. Well, if it is on a decline, so you can, uh, churn a gear, put your bike in gear, and you can get it started again. But if you are on an incline, you're definitely going to be risky for you to just kick your bike kick start your bike. So it's best to have classic because they have self start, and at least you get a little new generation to it. Now thirdly, talking about its what we say engine, so let's talk about this mileage. So the mileage it gives me around 45 to 50 almost. It's the best I have gotten, and really, truthfully speaking, it can give you 50 kilometers an hour if a liter, if you are driving it sincerely and not like thumping all the way around. And if you are driving rash, then it will give you about 30 to 35 kilometers per liter. No problem with that too. Also, about the I'd like to tell you about those levers. Now, if you're getting an aftermarket lever, you should remember the disc pressure should be made by those levers, because if the disc pressure isn't maintained by those levers, the disc pressure will be loosened up and you'll end up losing your disc power. So I had a chrome plated these bars, and they lost their visibility. I couldn't break from those levers anymore. And thirdly, I like to talk about its chain. So you need to keep your chain lubricated, like after every you need to get it checked like after every 2 weeks. And if it is a rainy season, you need to get it checked after every 3 to 4 days, because they'll get wet and you'll lose the grease all around it, and the sprocket will definitely break down. These teeth you see, they'll break down after because the engine has a lot of power, and the chain, and it's an iron wheel. The current ones have a rear disc with ABS, so that's a good thing. I would definitely like that option, and that's why I think that also more reason to buy a 350 classic. Now, talking about the flaws that I don't like this bike about. Okay, first of all, coming to the softer suspension. The suspension is quite stiff, not stiff, it's quite soft, and you'll feel definitely comfortable. And I don't know, I can't say about the pillion, but the driver is obviously comfortable. You get at least six springs, for the drivers, 2 for the seat, 2 behind and 2 front. And the pillion seat is obviously handy, and you can remove it if you want to just ride single-handed. But I'll recommend you should have this seat. You never know what kind of emergency you are in. So I have taken about 28,000 kilometers, so it will be 29,000 soon. And I really like this bike a lot, and I have maintained it well. Sorry about all the dust, because after all, I have it just rained about 3 days ago, and you can't say when it will rain again. So I'm not going to take any risk of cleaning the bike and then again getting it messed up. So once the skies are clear, I'll clean it up now. Okay, so what's left? Also, I'd like to talk about the aftermarkets that you get with these bikes. You can increase your power up to 23 bhp mark if you get a K and then filter. So I don't know, only have company filter because I don't that that would cost you about like you have to spend at least 6,000 rupees because the filter that would cost you alone 2,500, and you might have to get another kit for it, especially because that would cost you about 2,500 more. You can also change the carburetor. It's a I think a 29 carburetor, and you can get it to a 35 carburetor. That will give you an additional two bhps. But then why do you need that kind of power? You can easily cruise around. It is good for the cities and it is enough for this highways too. You just need to cruise along on these bikes because these bikes are meant to cruise. If you are going to extract power out of them, I'll say it would be a bit stupidity. If you really want power, then get a 500cc one. Don't opt for 301. The only reason why I opted this bike was I had the choice of 502, but the only reason why I opted this bike was because it is easy to maintain. Secondly, you have carburetor, because in 500 if you lose your fuel injecting system, it costs you about 12,000. It isn't covered in insurance. At least the carburetor is covered in the insurance, and if it isn't, you can get it easily for like 2,500 rupees, 25 to 3,000 rupees. It isn't enough. So also talking about its cost, so the cost is, if you're talking about its service, so service would cost you around 1200 to 1,300 rupees. And if you are if there is nothing broken at all, if it is like I got the chain sprocket changed once, so it costed me about 1,600 rupees. If you're only changing the sprocket, so it will work too, but you then have to take care about the lubrication and all. The the sprocket alone costs about 500 to 600 rupees, about 600 rupees. And if you're taking original, and if you're taking aftermarket, a good quality one, that would also cost you about 500 rupees. So it's your choice if you want to take aftermarket or the company one. Both are okay. And if you are taking a chain, then must take company one. That would cost you about 1,600 rupees. Now let's talk about the service cost. The service cost, as I told you, it's cost about 1,200 to 1,300 rupees. Although there could be additional charges, so if it will take you about 14 to 1,500 at the most. So there is another problem. Now this is this thing right here. This is the what we say, this is the grounding mechanism of this bike, because so that you don't get shock from the battery. So this thing usually gets, I guess you can see that thing, in the center. Now it breaks about like every time, and this could be a really problem for you guys. But you can get it changed from the company. This strap, it would cost you about 50 to 60 rupees at the most, so you can change that thing easily. So so that's most of the cost. So it won't cost you about much. You can get the service done from 3,000 kilometers to 5,000 kilometers. That's enough, I guess. So that's enough for the day. Thank you for joining.